we've seen it with the dog fouling, that once people get a fine, then that rumour goes round to people, be careful because you're going to be fined. And I think it would be nice to have some more figures to say, actually maybe on the amount of time that's been given, how many people were cautioned, how many people were ticketed. So we could actually see, and the residents could feel then that, you know, there are a number of people are being ticketed, that it's not just education. So again, I would echo the fact that you have the support of all the councillors here, and I think we all nod together to say enforcement on our behalf for the residents is not a problem. These people have had enough warnings time and time again, and they know where they shouldn't park now. And if enforcement by parking fines is the way to do it, then so be it. I see it's happening around other parts of the county as well now, where the fines are taking place. I think I saw in Ely somewhere a lot of fines are going on for parking around schools and other places. So I think maybe it's time that we've got that action as well. And just going on to the lakes, I know you're having a meeting with them. I don't know if you're having a meeting on site, but I know on my meetings with the management and Marie on site, that Marie is very good at knowing the points that have caused problems in the past, where reinforcement needs to take place. So it would be good if that meeting maybe could be on site as well. Marie can really see quickly if action has been taken to sort out the spots that causes the problems. There's probably about 4 main areas where the access, and over the years Marie's done a splendid job of reducing those areas and putting provisions in. But again, thank you for all the effort you are putting in, and continue to support all the efforts you do.
Just want to say, Chris, thank you for everything. And 2 things. One, the CB1 development. I've been around back and doing lots of times now, and I've talked to lots of people. And they said they use that area from the station, people they come with a drop, and they go pretty quickly. And they mentioned a few places which is happening, so I don't know if you said anything about it or not. And the next thing I was going to say is about the new road. I don't know what the opposite they did. New road has changed because nobody stops on the pavement anymore. I don't know if you can do anything to do with the Trumpington, because that had worked. I don't know what you did, but it does work. Thank you.
And it's looking like the last word to Councillor Taylor once more.
Right, thank you, Chair. Mainly wanted to comment on the road safety one. On the school runs, thank you for what you have been doing. I'd like to repeat a request I've made at previous meetings to include all the schools in the area, including Compton Children's Centre, which never seems to get any attention, but we do have a lot of antisocial parking there, and children are very young. On the speeding, I'm assuming that when you mention Queen Edith as a speed concern, that's Queen Edith's Way rather than the whole of Queen Edith's. And I've had several people bring up speeding on Hills Road with me, and particularly over the bridge. I've had a report of somebody going at 50 miles an hour just today, but they've also seen vehicles going at 60, and given that there's a cycleway down the middle of the road and cars trying to cross over from one side to the other, that is obviously a dangerous situation. Also reports of speeding lower down, which I must say is a bit of a surprise in some ways because it's so difficult to get along Hills Road at all at the moment. I can only assume that once people get past the awful bits with barriers, they speed up. Now, I wonder if you could look at that and perhaps advise whether the speed cameras near the purse have got any useful data on what sort of speeds people are doing, please.
Okay, Chris, that's the last question that we've got. So I know there's quite a lot there, but hopefully not quite as much as there was last time, and we are mindful that there are very few officers to do an awful lot of jobs. And also mindful that the recommendations that you've got on page 58, and indeed the responses you give to those questions, are notwithstanding the normal work that the police do, such as tackling burglary and the counter-terrorism, and those 6 options that you've also read out. I just want to remind people that you did read out those 6 main options that Cambridgeshire Police are doing at all times. So if we set those priorities, it doesn't mean to say that other more serious crimes are not being addressed. So everybody just remembers that. Over to you, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Chair, I think the parking one, I can try and cover that first of all. I believe parking in the main in the city is responsibility of the civil enforcement officers.
Yep.
In the main. So that's employed by the council? Yeah. So I think we can work together on that. I think if more direction can be given to them to potentially do a bit more of their work in support of areas where we think is a problem, I think that might help it. I mean, the issue which the PCSOs have explained to me, and which is a valid comment, is they have to be, for health and safety reasons, in high vis. Right, yellow. I describe it dressed as a banana. There is not many criminals or illegal or people committing illegal acts that are going to do it in front of somebody dressed in bright yellow. We're here to prevent, deter, then detect, in that order. And so that's the problem they have. They would almost love to be hiding in a hedge and jump out and catch people, but they know that really, ethically, morally, that's not what they're about. They have to patrol dressed in high vis. They are not allowed to stop cars. PCSOs do not have the powers for that. They can stop a cyclist, but they can't stop a car. So they are restricting what they can do when it comes to the parking issues. They do as much as they possibly can, and I think hopefully you appreciate that. But there is a bit of a problem. The safety cameras, they are in bright yellow too on the roads, initially to deter you from speeding at the top level. And it's the perception of speed. I mean, the forced policy on speeding is the way we combat it now, and some of the councillors have joined us in this, is we have adopted a community speed watch groups, where we have 3 volunteers trained. It's not a big commitment, it's about an hour's training. Training is in high speeding areas, so it's not at the police station, it will be on the ground, carried out by one of our highly trained PCSOs who's an expert at it. I think it's really enjoyable training as well. And basically we get 3 volunteers to go along to any area that's highlighted to us as a speeding problem and to carry out a community speed watch assessment, because sometimes it can be the perception of speed is the problem and not actually, it's not actually speeding. And what happens is you have a big, there, I think there's been some photographs published of people doing it on their websites, on other people's websites, and you go along, you have a sign that shows how much, what speed people are doing as well, and what happens is that's fed back then to us as to what the problem is. So that's supporting us in trying to combat speeding in the city. Been very successful in the villages around Cambridge, across the county. We really are sort of early days of bringing this into the city. I'd like to think we've got sort of a kind of village mentality with Hinton being a village, Trumpington, Queen Edith. I need three volunteers, particularly from Hinton, to come forward and be trained, because I have 3 volunteers from Trumpington, I have 3 for Queen Edith, but I don't have 3 volunteers for Hinton. I know Church End has been complained of, Coleman's Lane, rat run through Church End, and that's particularly somewhere where I'd like to speed watch volunteers to do some work. So if it's not you, if you can share it with somebody who could help us, I really appreciate their details, and you'll see it's not a big commitment. It really helped an awful lot. So that's that. Right.
Chair, could I just ask for the people who are particularly pertinent about parking on Bosworth Road, who need to get off? Chris has addressed the question partly. If it's okay with you, Chair, just to raise a point. Chris mentioned about high-vis jackets puts people off. Well, the police car can park around the corner. They know what time these people are going. They're arriving late to drop the kids off. So there won't be a problem with an high-vis jacket on, walking towards the car as those people are coming back after you've dropped them off, and having the word then. So I think even with high-vis jackets, I think there is a way we can try and add a bit more pressure onto what we can do around that area, because it is an area that probably does continue to give us considerable problems. And as Councillor McPherson said, you know, the photographs that are coming in now seem to prove that the action we have taken is not been the results we wanted, and I think we just need to see what else we can do, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. And for Bosworth Road, yeah, definitely it's on the agenda. I was pleased to hear you say you have seen the PCSOs doing some work in Bosworth Road. I'm pleased to hear you appreciate they can't be there all the time.
Oh, yes,
they certainly will.
Yeah.
Certainly will. I'll feed it back to them. You made representation here tonight. They want you want enforcement action to continue. Just a practical thing about if you've got a driveway, and not that you should have to do this, but just a practical thing that you might like to consider that some people have done. There are on the market some kind of raising bollard things you can put on your driveway, which you can put down, and then when you leave, you can put it up.
Yeah, but my son's a doctor, and he, you know, when he's on call, he hasn't got the time to, you know, chop at it with things. That's his problem, because he's looked into that.
Yeah.
But having said that, if he had one, they would probably back into it like they backed on his front lawn and his hedge.
Yeah, well,
So, you know.
I think somebody sent me some photographs of some plant pots.
Yeah, that was next door. Yeah.
Could be damaged.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you were to put one of these bollards in, then I think their car would get more, or their vehicle would get more damaged than your property would by putting one of these. But obviously, you shouldn't have to do that. I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm just saying there are things on the market
Yeah,
that
but my son
deter
did
people
think.
from parking on your driveways. I think that's, as I say, I was amazed at that photograph.
Well, my son did look into that, because well, by the time, you know, he undoes it, drives out, has to get, you know, switch his car up because his key would be on his ring, get back in, you know, and if he's on call, trying to get to the hospital quickly. And, you know, he's come back before now. It's not, nobody's been on his drive and he's actually come back. But he's had the drive blocked, and he's asked them to move, and they told him to move. So he's had to get out and politely say to them, well, I live there. But they just don't seem to bother.
I'm afraid, yeah.
So it's,
26 years of this.
but I mean, you know, if he's been working 12...
Through the chair, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Questioning people's driving ability. That's where my complaints come from.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Russ.
Okay.
Moving down my list, if I may, is it okay? I think Mill Road work was mentioned. Absolutely. So again, that supports the idea of more evidence of enforcement work, I believe. CB1 development. Michaela was at a meeting only last week with Maureen from City Council. Self and Maureen have had lots of meetings at CB1 about issues there. The chap with 1,000 drugs, as mentioned, 1,000, did I say 1,000 wraps?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1,000 wraps of heroin was in a vehicle in Station Road. Yeah, so I don't think you're far wrong there talking about that. Myself and Mo have been dealing with the sort of issues about reports of antisocial behaviour, which is suspected to be coming from the student population, there's a lot of student accommodation there, and the conflict between some people who are part-owner occupiers and I think we've ironed that out, hopefully, to some degree, but patrols obviously will continue there. I have mentioned this, but I think it is important. I have 4 PCSOs. One of the PCSO sadly has been off long-term sick, so not an excuse, but just reality. For this reporting period, I've been down to, to 3. That PCSO is one of the Trumpington PCSOs, so you still have a Trumpington PCSO, but you don't have the 2 that you have. And that area of responsibility that she had was more Newtown, the south end of Trumpington, the city end. So that's that. Parking, CCT of the lakes, yeah, I'll certainly take that to them. I'm hopefully going to encourage them to perhaps, as I say, get some ad hoc security patrolling, because it is a private site. I don't see why the taxpayers' money should be spent just patrolling that site for them, really. Cambridge Lakes proposals for a public park, Jack mentioned. Again, I just reached out on that one. At the moment, it's not though. At the moment it isn't, it's a private site, that's very dangerous.
Mm.
And I think that's, you know, I'm not
I mean, you
saying...
have a responsibility to protect their own premises.
Yeah, until such time, if you know, in due time, if it does turn into a country park, fair enough, but at the moment it's not. Walking Way, certainly I'll mention that to PCSOs, that can certainly receive their attention. Cycling on the pavement is a bit of an issue in this city, especially with 1 minute you're on the pavement, the next minute you can't. It's a very old city, isn't it? It's not a new development like Peterborough, where I originally come from, where everything is separate. But then I don't think we should look for Peterborough for answers. Definitely not. Agendas for when they turn left at the car park. Bosworth Road, Thames Lakes, burglaries. Yeah, the residents who feel nothing has been done. I'm very sorry to hear that. I'd like details of who those victims are, because we have now a victims hub. Probably, in my whole 26 years, this is probably the most victim focused the police has ever been. And so I'm very disappointed to hear that. So, yeah.
I can email you those details.
Email the details, so yes, please. Yeah.
So I've got it.
Certainly, yeah. Because there would have been, absolutely there would have been a rapid response, there would have been crime scene investigators gone to it, it would have been assigned, reviewed by detective sergeant, assigned to a detective constable to pursue every avenue of investigatable solvability factors that there are. No stone would go unturned to try and detect a burglary, I can assure you, especially one of that series. So, yeah, disappointing to hear that, if that's the way they feel. Godwin Way, neighbour involved in drug selling. Yeah, please give me the details. Anybody got information on anything at all, you've got two choices. You can ring, or several choices. You can either email me the details, or you can, if you don't want to get involved, give it anonymously. Crime Stoppers, 0800 555 111. Simple as that. It all gets back to us. It might be the little piece of the jigsaw that makes the big picture, that makes us persuade a magistrate to give us a warrant to go and catch someone with, as you can see, 1,000 wraps of heroin. Yeah, please, Godwin Way, give me a bit more details. We probably know about it anyway, to be honest with you, but doesn't mean I don't want the information. So you email it to me if you wish, or through Crime Stoppers.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions?
Ross.
Could I quite like a comment on the speeding of motorbikes on cars on Hills Road? If possible, please. Do you want me to recap on the question I asked?
Yeah.
I know there's been a lot. It was just complaints about cars and motorbikes speeding at 50 and 60 miles an hour over the
Yeah, that was
Hills
the
Road
last question,
Bridge.
Chris.
On the motorbikes.
Yeah, that was the last question.
Yeah,
Right.
and also near the purse.
Yeah.
The bits of Hills Road where you can travel, as opposed to speeding up onto the roadway.
Councillor Taylor had already asked that question, so it's not an extra one.
Okay. Yeah, speeding is, as I say, community speed watch. Let's task a group to find out what the problem is, and then they can identify to us whether letters need to be written to any drivers. But that's the way we deal with speeding issues as a force now. It's a community speed watch, volunteers to set up a scheme, be it an hour's patrol, and I know Councillor Taylor, you did one, didn't you?
I did.
Queen
yeah.
Edith, yeah.
Queen Edith's Way.
Yeah, which was really helpful. Thank you for that. Yeah.
But also we do have speed cameras, and I was wondering if you could give us any information on what data have been recorded about speed levels. Because there's a speed camera along Hills Road where people are staying at the...
We don't, as local policing, deal with the speed cameras. There's speed enforcement teams. We have a traffic management officer that I've spoken to in the past, Councillor O'Connor, isn't it? About Trumpington, where there was a traffic regulation order there. So yes, we have a traffic management officers. We have a speed camera enforcement team that deal with taking the films out, processing them, and deal with all that. It's not something the local team get involved in.
Right. Just wondering whether, as you probably have better links with them than I do, would you be able to route that request and get one of them to get back to me, please?
Sure.
Because I've had a lot of people ask me to raise it tonight.
Yeah, I certainly have a look.
Thank you.